Hello, students. Sorry. Hope everyone is doing well. Uh, Today, our lecture also is a continuation of a series of lectures about human rights movement. As you know, in the previous lecture, in the last lecture, uh, uh, I explained three movements. One of them was the anti-apartheid movement, which worked for eradication of discrimination between peoples on the basis of skin, the color of skin. And the other movement was, which in the last lecture we discussed, it was the temperance movement. Also, the temperance movement was against consumption or using of or drinking of alcoholic beverage, and also the third movement in the last lecture we explained it or we discussed it was about was the organic movement. The organic movement also emphasized on using of natural products rather than chemical products. And today also we're gonna discuss or speak about two movements which are important for us to know. Those movements are the Times Up movement and also Salt March movement. Uh, the Times Up movement, just before explaining Times Up movement, I wanna remember you. We concluded, or we mentioned in the last lecture that uh, any creation of any movement is related to a problem, to a issue in society or community. That's why a movement don't come from a vacuum. It 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 will be created or has been created because of some issues in society. So the Times Up movement also was created in response to the issue of harassment or sexual violence or sexual harassment against women in Hollywood, particularly and in general in USA. At the time, and now also, it was a big problem in Hollywood because many of the girls were used or were exploited by men in Hollywood. So, the Times Up movement was created, as I mentioned, in response to these issues. However, before that, some other movements also were created for solving that issue, like Me Too movement and Weinstein effect. But today we're gonna I will speak about Times Up movement, which it was created in 2018. The movement raised more than 22 million for its activities and initiatives. Also, approximately or close to 800 volunteers, lawyer joined to the movement to support the women who are in need. This movement or Times Up movement had three ways or three initiatives to solve that problem. The first one was related to providing of legal assistance or legal support to women, to support lower income women seeking for justice in American courts for sexual harassment and assault in their working place. Because at the time, many of women in their workplace were suffered assault and sexual harassment. So this movement decided to provide legal assistance or legal support for them by providing lawyer and paying some expenditures of processing their complaint in courts, because many of the women had no enough money to register their complaint in court and to follow up their issue. So this movement provided legal assistance and supported women in courts and follow up courts, and in coordination with its volunteers, lawyer volunteers supported this issue. And the second initiative of this movement, or second way of this movement, was related to legislation, to make some laws, or to make advocacy, or to advocate for this, to make advocacy for this issue in parliament, or a legislator branch of government, to push the government or parliament to make some laws in order to punish companies or the corporates that tolerate as a harassment, or don't, or ignore having issue of harassment in their working place, or not paying attention to that issue in their corporates or companies. So that's why this movement made a kind of advocacy and put pressure on parliament to create some laws, or to make some laws against companies or corporates ignore having issues of harassment, or not or companies that don't pay attention to the cases of harassment in their institutions. That's why they put pressure on government to make some laws to punish that kind of companies which don't pay attention to this kind of cases in their institutions, and ignore it. The third way, or third initiative of Times Up movement, was related to gender parity or gender balance in studios of film or video clips, or any types of studios in Hollywood, to make a kind of balance between men and women, and and also make opportunity, or giving chance to women to work in studios, and also supporting agencies, talent agencies, in order to incorporate women also in their plans, or pay more attention to women in their plans. I want to say, in USA there are some agencies or institutions seeking for talented people, and then the agencies support them and make them famous. So this movement tried to change the vision of that kind of institution, and to pay much more attention to gender balance and involving women in their programs, and seeking the talented women and as man, because at the time most of the attention of the institutions was on man rather than women. So shortly I want to say Times Up movement is related to eradication of sexual harassment against women. They it was created in 2018, and they had three ways of working, like providing legal services for suffered affected people from sexual harassment, and also advocacy for punishing companies when making some laws who tolerate or ignore having the cases of harassment in their institutions, or and the third way, like making gender balance in study and talent agencies. The second movement for today is Salt March movement. Salt March movement was initiated by Mahatma Gandhi and his friends. As we know, at the time, India was under colony of British government, and all of the natural resource and the other resources of India were under monopoly of British empire or government. So the British government introduced taxation at the time on the people who produce salt on the coastal village on the coastal villages of India, or introduced taxes on the people who make salt in the village located in the beaches of villages or towns located in the beaches of India. Here it was very difficult for people to make salt because there was many taxation, heavy taxation on their products, and in other side the British government made the salt production illegal activity and used power so many times to stop that people of producing salt. So here Mahatma Gandhi started a non-violent civil disobedience movement. When I say civil and disobedience movement, it means Mahatma Gandhi supported people, pushed people to not to follow the rules made by British government, and for that Mahatma Gandhi and his friends started a march or a long walk across Indian coastal villages and towns, or they started a long walk across the villages and towns located in the beaches of India to make awareness among people and to start a nationwide civil disobedience movement, and to support people not to follow the rules made by British government, because it was against the basic human rights and rights of people. It's worth to mention Mahatma Gandhi, unlike Machiavelli, the great political philosopher, he has believed in peaceful settlement of issues. It means I want to say Machiavelli had believed in that, in the idea of end justify means. It means you can use any way, any tools or means to get or to reach your goals. But Mahatma Gandhi, unlike Machiavelli, said Mahatma Gandhi, unlike Machiavelli, said we can reach our reach goals by peaceful means. It means we can reach peace by peaceful means. So here, as I mentioned, Mahatma Gandhi started a nationwide civil disobedience movement and supported people, made awareness among people for 24 days. They walked across the town and villages located in the coastal places of Indian Sea here. And this movement in the end led to the independent movement, independent movement, or making India independent from Britain. And just shortly I want to say Mahatma Gandhi was very successful in his work of non-violent movement, and it became an international movement, non-violent movement, and his movement inspired many nations and many movements across the world to use peaceful means to reach their goals. I just in the end I wanna mention that in the world there are modern history of world there are some rare cases of long march or long walk like Mahatma Gandhi's walk for 24 days. But if Mao Zedong, the Chinese leader, great Chinese leader, had also the same, but for different issue, they had the same long walk or march across China and to make people awareness among people and to mobilize people in order to make a big, great China, to make a big country. That's why the Chinese leader also visited villages and people one by one and made awareness among people about making a great China. And also in Kurdistan we have a case like that, like Mullah Mustafa Barzani to protect the rights of people. He crossed the borders of three to four countries in order to make the Kurdish issue to make Kurdish issue as an international issue and recognize it to the people. And also internally, Mustafa, by his work, by his action, he could succeed in persuading or convincing the central government at the time in Iraq and in order to recognize at least some cultural and some political rights of Kurdish people at the time. So generally the goal of all of that movements is to protect the rights of human. And also the Salt March movement of Gandhi was also one of them, that was against the British colony, and but his way or his method of thinking of Gandhi was different than the other leaders before his initiative or his work. That's why it is one of the unique movements in the history of the world, which was successful and could reach its goals. Thank you very much for today. Also, for any question or any advice or suggestion, please contact me or write me an email or through messenger. Anyone who like to get more information, please contact me. I can help more. Thank you.